Hey guys, what's up? It's Deprimido. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here in FL Studio and I'm going to be doing a review, an updated review of Octave, specifically Octave Deluxe. This is a VST made by a producer called my best friend Jacob, and I think it came out about a year ago. And this is the first VST that I ever paid money for. I think it's about 30 bucks, but I'm not totally sure, but I'm pretty sure it's right around there. And yeah, originally it was just Octave, which is this one here, but not long ago he came out with Octave Deluxe, which is just an upgraded version. And one of you guys asked me to do a review specifically of this one, so I thought I would do a little comparison and a review of the deluxe version. So with the original version, there's a few differences between them. First off, you can see the deluxe version just looks better, but that's not a huge deal. Other than that, there's not too much difference on the interface. It has the same cutoff knob here. It's got a low pass, high pass, and then you can also just turn it off. You've got this vinyl knob right here. Here you've got an LFO rate and depth. Here you've got a vinyl depth. It does very similar things. It's just kind of that wobble that you get. So basically you're sacrificing a knob for changes in the LFO. And really, I think this version, the new one, is a lot better just for that reason, because it just gives you more control, but you're essentially just cutting out a useless knob and replacing it with the attack knob, which I think is a really good idea because sometimes you just want a much quicker attack or a much slower attack. So I think it's a really good idea that they did that. Secondly, along with the interface, there's just a ton of new sounds in the deluxe version. I mean, you can see there's way more compared to the original version. And it's also, there's a ton more sounds, and it's also organized a lot better. So here you've got a bunch of keys, a bunch of pianos, you've got strings, a few guitars, pads, bells, flutes, stuff like that, and then you've got your synth basses. Then it goes to the first expansion, and each expansion is essentially made to do a different thing. So here, expansion 1 is all guitars. And with each expansion, the interface changes. But you can see the first expansion is all about guitars. It's called Octave Guitars. And so this has a bunch of different guitar sounds. Personally, they aren't the best. They could definitely be a lot better. I'm not the hugest fan of a lot of these guitar sounds. There are some that are really good, but there's a lot of them that just kind of suck. And you'll find that with the entire VST, there's a lot of sounds that are just really bloated and unnecessary, sounds that aren't that good that you're never going to use. And one thing I wish that he would do is just cut it back to sounds that are actually good and just not include the ones that aren't that great, because there's a lot of those. And it just takes up a lot of time trying to find a good sound, where if it was just the good ones, it would take way less time, and you'd probably find yourself coming back to the VST more often because you know that there's a lot of good sounds. But that's definitely the case with the guitars. There are so many that just are super unnecessary. Like you can hear this one right here. Who's ever going to use that, really? Especially as a guitar. Like, you're never going to use that as a guitar. There are some that are decent, like this one is pretty good. They're not the most realistic, but they aren't bad at all. There are some that are definitely pretty good. And then there's just a lot that suck, and nobody's ever going to use them. And so that's probably my biggest complaint about this plugin. There's so many sounds that you don't need, that you'll never use. But along with that, there are a lot of really good sounds as well. So it's kind of a wash. But yeah, there's a ton of good sounds as well. So let's get into some of those. There's so many sounds. So with this first expansion, it's all guitars. With the second expansion, it's all strings pretty much. And a lot of the strings are pretty nice. Another problem I have with this is whenever there's a tremolo or some sort of that type of sound, it doesn't tempo match. It's just whatever it originally was. It's almost like it's just playing one-shots through the VST, because it like speeds up the tremolo the higher the note is and slows it down the lower it is, which just is very unprofessional and doesn't make a lot of sense, because you want to have it going the speed of the song. You don't want to have it going some random tempo. So you can hear that with this sound right here. This isn't the best example. I'll try to find a better one, like this Always Juice WRLD guitar. One, it's just not a very good sound, and two, it tremolates at a very random speed. And we're at 140. If I bring it up to 170, it's exactly the same, so it doesn't tempo match. And you can hear it speeds up the higher you go, and you don't really want to have that. So that's another problem with this plugin. It's really, really frustrating because a lot of the sounds in here do tremolate, and you don't want to have them tremolating at random speeds. But I don't really use a ton of those anyway. One thing I have found them useful for is like rod wave type beats, especially some of these tremolated guitars where you're just looking for a little accent or something on a certain note. You're not playing like the full melody on it. It doesn't really make as much of a difference what speed it tremolates at there. So I do like that in certain cases, but I just wish it tremolated at the same speed, you know, and that it tempo matched like most plugins do. This is one of my favorite guitars. It's just a very standard guitar. And it's really nice. It sounds good, and it's simple, which is actually the name of it. So that makes sense. That's great. But next, getting into the third expansion, I'm pretty sure this is all like the trap-based sounds. Yeah, it's called Octave Trap. And so it's got a lot of bells. This is probably my least favorite expansion personally, because there's not that much, there's not that many good sounds in it. There's a lot of good bells in it, but other than the bells, there's not many great sounds. Like these keys here, some of them are okay. Like that one is panned super hard right. There's only a little bit of left ear, and it's stuff like that that I really don't like about this plugin. It just is very unprofessional in a lot of ways, and it's got a lot of glitches and inaccuracies that need to be fixed that just haven't been. Hopefully they will be eventually. That'd be really nice. I think he should focus on that instead of adding more sounds. He should focus on cleaning up what there already is, because at the end of the day, this is a pretty new plugin in the grand scheme of things, and it makes sense that there's a lot of issues with it. As long as he fixes them, it's fine that there is, but it's very frustrating, and it would be really, really frustrating if he didn't fix them at all. Next, we've got a few leads. So, strange stuff like that. It's got a lot of really weird sounds, which is kind of cool for certain styles of music. Next, getting into the fourth expansion. If I remember correctly, this is the lo-fi expansion. Yeah. This I don't like too much either. It's got some pretty cool sounds, but they are fairly niche. They don't work that well in a ton of styles of music, so it's not the best. And then getting into the fifth expansion, we can just wait for it to open up real quick. This is the vintage. This is probably my third favorite. It's not bad. It's not great. But it's got a lot of like 80s sounds for the most part, and synthesized stuff like that. So some of it's decent. Some of it's, as with the rest of the plugin, pretty bad. That one's kind of interesting. But there's just a lot of really weird sounds in it that are kind of niche, and this goes for the entire plugin, not just this expansion. There are a lot of very niche sounds that you can't use all of the time. It's not something that you're necessarily going to find yourself just coming back to in every single beat, because a lot of the sounds are so strange. But it's definitely a decent plugin. It also comes with a drum kit that I do like quite a bit, and I'm going to show some of the sounds here. This is one of my go-to hi-hats. I like that a lot. Some of the claps and a lot of the sounds aren't the best. It's got some pretty cool 808s. Also comes with a sub bass, and it's got some good kicks. Like stuff like that is great. That's a great kick. And then stuff like that isn't the best. But there are some really good sounds, and throughout the drum kit, the original VST, the new VST, the basic thing that you have to know about it before you buy it, there are so many sounds, and a lot of them just aren't necessary. They aren't that good, and you're never going to use them. But there are also a lot of really good sounds. So if you want to get a cheap plugin, as I said, this is only about 30 bucks. Um, and you're fairly new maybe, or maybe you're not very new and you are looking for some more interesting sounds. This is probably going to be pretty good for you because there are a lot of decent sounds, but you just got to be prepared for those bad sounds and know that you're probably going to have to do some sifting through sounds to find a good one. But personally, I think this is worth it. It's only 30 bucks. Comes with the VST, the drum kit, and yeah, I definitely think it's worth it. I like it. I use it pretty often. I'd say I use it in maybe a quarter or a half of my beats. But yeah, I think it's a pretty good plugin. So I definitely recommend it. If you have the money and you're looking for something like this, I'll link it down below so you can get it there. And yeah, that's pretty much the entire video. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to go over and follow me on Instagram. When I reach 1,000 followers, I'm dropping a free MIDI kit that you can all get, and we're only like 150 followers away from that. We're pretty close. So go over and follow me there. Also subscribe on YouTube. I need 21 more subscribers before I drop a free guitar kit. That is guitar melody kit that is made entirely with my real guitar. So it'll all be guitar loops that are realistic and sound good. And I'm really excited about that. Give the video a like if you enjoyed and subscribe, and I'll talk to you all in the next one.